Hi, everyone. Welcome to Level Up with Naomi. Today's episode is really exciting because all of us will be needing this, right? It's called The Importance of Human Connection. So before we start, let me thank everyone who's watching this live and those who will be watching the recorded version. And thank you so much for joining us. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. So, today we will be talking about the importance of human connection. Our speaker is the CEO and founder of Purposely Connected Life. She has a master's degree in intercultural youth and family development and the certification as a life and executive coach. She helps career women achieve life balance by addressing mindset issues, developing self confidence, um, strategizing ways to set and attain their goals, establishing boundaries, and building relationships. So she is a wife, a mom, daughter, sister, lifelong learner, friend, and empath. She's based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and she loves good hikes, reading good books, and savoring a good glass of wine. So, but not more than playing and snuggling with her daughter and husband. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Miss Arianna Palumbo. Hi, Ariana.
Hello, Naomi. How are you?
I am good, and you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much that you want to share your expertise with us this morning.
My
So thank
pleasure.
you
My
so
pleasure.
much. Yeah. So, to start with, my first question is, can you tell us something interesting about yourself most people don't know?
Ooh, I'm a very open person, so it's always hard to think of something that most people don't know about me. I think one of the things that may surprise people about me is I tend to be more introverted than extroverted, but I can be pretty gregarious and extra and be extroverted when I need to. But I generally prefer to be home with my husband and my daughter and recharging for getting back out there and being with people again.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Because our topic is human connection.
Exactly, definitely something I've lived. So
Yes, yes. So, what make you choose this topic, by the way?
you know, this is such a great question. And it's something that I started to really think a lot about during COVID. So for me, I've always been kind of a natural friend. I love having girlfriends. I love, figuring out life with them and going and meeting them for happy hours, or, I'm the person you can call in the middle of the night and I'll show up if you need me. And I've always prided myself on that aspect. And then COVID hit and couldn't see my girlfriends anymore, and was really finding that my world got a lot smaller. And at the same time, I was reading reports and news stories about people feeling more isolated, people feeling more depressed, people feeling more just not themselves, because community is really important. And I don't think we always think about that. I know that there are times in my life when I was single. That's the other part of my connection story, is it took me a long time to kind of figure out dating and getting married. I met my husband at 34, married at 36. I had my daughter at 38. So there's hope if you're single out there. Um, but, during, I had times in my life where I would need to do my introversion thing, and then I would get kind of itchy, meaning that I knew I needed to get back out there and connect. And I think our bodies tell us that. And I think the last thing during COVID is I watched The Social Connection. No, The Social Dilemma, excuse me, on Netflix. And it really drove home to me that maybe the next couple of generations, I'm a Zennial, so I'm on the cusp of being a Gen Xer and a millennial. But really some of the next generations, even maybe after millennials, may struggle because of COVID and or because of social media. And I'm not going to say social media is a bad thing. That's how you and I met. Um, but it's a tool that we need to use appropriately and understand what's good and bad about it. And the social dilemma talks a lot about how we can find depression or insecurities based on social media. And now in the news, not even a week ago, we learned that, Facebook has done studies and found that preteen and teenage girls tend to have lower self-esteem being on Instagram. And I think a lot of that is not, again, I'm pro social media, but I'm pro social media in an appropriate way. And I think one of the ways that we can use social media well is to use it as community, and to find community through it. But also we can turn it off and get out into the community and make friends and meet people.
Yes, you're right. Our topic is very timely, especially we're still in the pandemic. It's been more than a year, but people still struggle, to have that connection. We're happy we got social media, we got our devices out there, but it's still different. Now it's good that we're starting to connect face to face, but still it's a struggle, being disconnected in the world for quite some time, and then now you start facing people face to face, but it's still different because now we have to do social distancing, things like that, right?
Yeah, I have a toddler who goes to daycare and is exposed to COVID. So I'm really careful about who I meet up with and where I go because I'm also potentially exposed. And there are some people that are still choosing to stay home because of all kinds of reasons. They have an autoimmune disease. They are just trying to protect other loved ones that they have. So yeah, like we're not out of this yet.
Yes, we are never, we're not. So I came across a phrase by Virginia Woolf. So I wanted to ask you about this. In your own words, what does the phrase, what I value is the naked contact of a mind?
Ooh, that's beautiful. I haven't heard that before. I need to go look a little bit more into that. So, what I value is the naked
Contact of a mind.
contact of a mind. I think, yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I think I love meeting up with people and having discourse and talking about things. I think that's the other thing that's isolated us a lot is politics or how we feel about immunizations or all of those kinds of things. And I think people have the right to believe what they want to believe. But the naked mind, the idea of having discourse, the idea of being able to discuss it and learn from the other side and not necessarily change your opinion if you don't want to, but certainly getting to a place where you can respect and have those dialogues. It helps us to connect with one another. It helps us not to isolate so much. I mean, just think about it. Like half of the population, almost not half, I don't really know the exact statistics, but let's just say a good chunk of people are Democrats, a good chunk of people are Republicans, and another chunk of people are becoming more and more independent. And if we're only going to associate with people who think what we think, then what do we really ever learn?
You're right. So that what divides us sometimes, right? The political affiliation, things like that. But then you're right. You mentioned the key word there, respect. We just needed to respect everybody's opinions, and then we can still get along with them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what political affiliation you have, whether you believe in mask or in the immunization or not, we can still have good relationships.
Right. There's so many things we do agree upon in various things. So I'm married to someone who has different political beliefs than I do. We agree on some things and we don't agree on some things. But one of the things we love about that is that we get to challenge each other and we get to
Yes.
challenge our thinking. And there's times when my husband will say something and I won't have agreed with it initially, but as he talks about it, I'm like, okay, I can see your side. And that brings us together, that connection.
Yes. And
And I think it's the same with my friends.
you're right. Yeah, we don't need to always agree, right? We just
Right.
need
Like
to
it's
do.
so boring if we just agree with people all the
You're
time.
right.
If
You're
we just
right.
look if we're just looking for people who agree with us about everything, we're gonna struggle. There's just no such thing.
Yes, you're right. So it makes me think about this next question. So what keeps you up at night?
Um, well, I think what keeps me up at night a lot is just worrying about my daughter and my daughter's generation, who may be better off than our generation. I worry about bullying. I worry, will she make friends? I worry, will people see her for her beautiful self? I worry about people that could potentially harm her or harm, her friends. And so those are the things that I really worry about. One of my primary goals as a parent is just to ensure that she grows up to be a contributing member of society. And, I try to eliminate most of my expectations for how she could possibly do that. But, I want to give her the tools to be able to do that with some success. So I actually sleep pretty well. Maybe there's something wrong with me,
That's
but
good.
I sleep pretty well. But yeah, if I worried about anything, I just worry about our children and about them having the skills that they need to really continue to contribute to society. There's just so many problems that need to be solved, and we need them to really be on top of it to carry it over and raise the next generation to help solve those problems too.
Yes, I believe you. You know, most parents, if not all, worry about our kids, right?
Yeah.
How are they going to be when we're not around, right? But
Right.
then I saw a post before, and I posted it one time in my Facebook wall as well. It says that that generation, our kids, are prepared really by Almighty to go through all this and to conquer this and then to still be successful. So I'm
Yeah.
like, we shouldn't be worrying a lot. I guess we just nurture them the way we wanted them to be, like the person that we wanted them to become, and then they can adjust and figure out things by themselves as well. They may make mistakes like us. We do make mistakes, but then they will learn from it.
Right.
So, going back to our major topic, can you give us at least three strategies for maintaining a healthy and lasting human connection?
Yeah. I think let me start with making human connection because I think some people really struggle with that, and then I'll talk about making it lasting. The first thing is get out of your head. Get out of your head. This is why we work on mindset. Life coaches work a lot on mindset, right? I think people think more about us than they do. I've watched a friend on social media be like, sometimes I worry that everyone's just tolerating me. And I wrote back and I'm like, it's just not true. Like people don't just tolerate people in this day and age. If we don't like someone or we don't want to be friends with people, then we don't hang out with them. But people who hang out with you want to hang out with you, at least the vast majority. And so the first thing is get out of your head. People, like, I'll be honest, really, I think mostly about me and my family, and I don't think about, like what are my friends doing right now? I wonder if they're feeling insecure. Sometimes I sit down and think about those things because I care about my friends and I want to make sure that they know that I love them and that, they're supported and those kinds of things. But we live our lives. And so our lives are based around us. And so that's one of the challenges with the mindset is that we're so busy thinking, oh my gosh, I said the wrong thing, or I did the wrong thing, or I brought up immunization. So now it's a thing. And, instead of just enjoying the moment, being there and realizing that, no one's going to walk away from that and remember it 10 years later. No one's going to walk away from it and probably remember it a year later. So just, first step, get out of your head. The second one is be brave. Um, it's the reality is not when you are making friends, it's less likely that people are going to come to you. So you have to go to them. So I've made friends by picking up pen caps. I've made friends by feeling the call of the Holy Spirit and going out and saying, "Hey, do you want to go grab coffee?" I have made friends through some of the smallest things, sharing food, giving someone a stick of gum. Like, so you're gonna have to probably do more than you think you will to make friends initially. If you're blessed and you get those people who are like me, that'll come up to you and be like, "Hey, let's be friends." Like, okay, good for you. You're very good at manifesting people and definitely teach others how to do that. but for the most part, you're gonna have to be brave. And then kind of coupled with that is start with what you know. So if you like to hike, find a meetup group where people hike. If you like to go to church, there's so many opportunities at church, synagogue, mosque, wherever. There's so many opportunities in all religious communities to connect. And so, if you're finding that you're at a church or at a religious institution and that it's not serving you, go talk to the head. Go talk to the imam or the pastor, the priest, and be like, how can I get plugged in? You don't have to lead anything. There's so many things you can do in those places and just meet people. I talk a lot about those because so many of us tend to have a religious or spiritual aspect to who we are. But the other thing is, if you like football, then there are bars and restaurants all over your town or city that probably have a place for you to go meet people that like your team. Or there are quilting circles. If there's something you like, start with what you know and then be brave. Go attend, have a conversation with some people, and let those conversations lead to other conversations. So those are my 3 tips for getting started. My 3 tips for maintaining are, again, 1, get out of your head. Don't overthink it. The reality is that people need connection. And so no one, if people are pushing you away, there's probably a reason for it. And maybe the point is to find it or to give them their space. But don't think it's you. Like, the reality is it's probably not. In fact, I would say 98.9% of the time, it's not you. It's something going on in their head. It's something going on with them. So, keep connecting. I see a commercial about people talk about mental health, and mental health is so important. We don't talk about it enough. And now that COVID's here, we talk about it, I hope, a lot more, but still not enough. And there's a commercial with all of these TikTok stars and YouTube stars and social media stars talking and being kind of awkward about like having conversation or starting a conversation. And ultimately they're just like, hey, if you want to talk, So for maintaining things, just go, hey, do you want to talk? Do you want to go grab coffee? You want to go grab a drink? Hey, let's go for a walk. Whatever works. Realize that some people are side-by-side people. So like doing an activity with them, they get, more connection. And some people are face-to-face people. And so sitting across from them and having a meal or those kinds of things are very, very important. And then finally, my last tip for maintaining is try again. I know so many people, they're like, I'm just so bad at like communicating with people. Okay, but there are people, that you can and do try to keep up with. So keep going, just keep going. I have a friend who we got into a ruckus for like a year or 2. And when I got engaged, I called her and I said, hey, I can't see my life without you, like being a part of all of this. And so we hashed it out and we dealt with it. And now we're friends again. And in fact, I should call her up and we should go to coffee. But yeah, try. Reconciliation is not as hard as we make it, but it definitely takes some working on ego, getting out of our heads, and all of those kinds of things. But definitely for maintaining healthy relationships, I would keep doing those 3 things.
Very good tips. Yes, thank you so much for those tips. Sometimes we overthink and we're thinking about how they're going to react. So just I love the number 1 most especially.
Yeah. Get out of your head. It's so
like
true.
Be yourself, right?
Yeah. Really, it's not. How many times have you like planned a conversation and then the conversation didn't go anything like that? It went way better than you expected.
That will be my next question, actually. Yeah,
Sure.
because relationships with others, right, are not always all sunshine and rainbows, right? Can you share with us a situation where things didn't go as planned, and that one thing that you consider your worst moment?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like I kind of talked about it a little bit with my friend who we were really close and we were really tight. And, she went through a situation and I went into it and probably asserted a little bit too much of my opinion. And we had a falling out for a year and a half, maybe a couple years. And I still sent her happy birthdays and still did whatever, but it was radio silence until I called her and told her I was engaged. And I think there's a couple of things that I think I really, first of all, I don't really have a lot of regrets in life, but I definitely learned from it. One of them is how you're expressing things is not how people are always receiving things. So even though I felt I was being supportive, what she heard because of where she was at and what she was going through wasn't supportive to her. And so I wish that I would have really emphasized my areas of support to her in a way that she would have heard. And like I said, out of my head, it's not necessarily my fault. Like it had to happen the way it had to happen. And then when we got back together, I gave an authentic apology. Because no matter what, even if I wasn't in the wrong, which I was somewhat in the wrong, no matter how I slice it, it's so important that people know that you care enough to say, I'm sorry. And it's not, I'm sorry you felt bad. No, it's, I'm sorry that I said those things. I wish that I had done a better job of being clear about how much I love you and how much I support you and how much I care about you. And so I hate those bad apologies. I hate it when it's like, I'm sorry you. Like take I'm sorry you out of your vernacular. Just say, I'm sorry that I said something that hurt you. I'm sorry that even if you, even if you don't necessarily regret what you said, I'm sorry that I said it the way I said it, that it hurt you so bad. We have to at least empathize with people and feel bad when they feel bad and walk with them in the midst of all of that. So I love being in a marriage because I get the opportunity to apologize all the time. Like, I'm sorry, honey, that I used that tone with you. I don't mean to be that angry. Or I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you please repeat it? I'm going to do a better job of looking at you and listening to you next time that you're having this kind of conversation with me. And so I think really authentic apologies are important. And being a little and humbling yourself a little bit, even if you feel like I'm 100% in the right. Okay, you may be. I don't believe in 50-50 all the time. I don't believe it's always a 50-50 scenario. But I'm sure there's something that you can empathize with them about and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did anything that would make you feel that bad. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to, help.
You're right. And sometimes really you made a good point in saying I'm sorry. It's called I'm sorry because it's you who felt bad, not like I'm sorry you feel bad. And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
You're
I hate
right.
it when I hear that. Like, I'm sorry that you thought that I did, no. I'm
Yeah,
sorry that I said anything that would make you think
you're
that,
right.
I don't
Good
care about
point.
you.
And then they'll be more receptive and then they'll accept your apology because they
Right.
know you're sincere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they give an apology back and then you're solid.
Mm-hmm.
Not always. I definitely apologize and not have people apologize back. But that's okay. It's not about them. What is that saying my dad used to always say when I was a kid? In essence, not forgiving people is a poison pill you take to kill someone else.
Can you elaborate on that?
So when we don't forgive people, when we don't, just clear it and move on, we're in essence just poisoning ourselves and our body. Even though it's not necessarily like we're not taking a poison pill, but we're doing something to our energy, our emotions, our brain, our even like our hormones can react to negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say, you know what, that person's out of my life, they're a jerk, blah, 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 blah. And there are definitely people to cut out of your life, but you need to forgive them when you cut them out. Um, if we don't, if we hold on to that, if we hold on to that grudge, we're just making ourselves feel bad. Half the time, they don't even care. They don't even know. Like, they don't even know you're upset with them. And so, yeah, I've always liked that saying that, a grudge is a poison pill you take to hurt someone else. I had that when I got pregnant with my daughter. I was very upset with my father. He had made some choices that I didn't really agree with, and it set kind of our family into a tailspin. And ultimately, when I was pregnant, I was carrying this life inside of me. I was responsible for everything about that life. And I didn't want it to take on the negative energy that I had. So I worked daily to really forgive my father for the choices that he made, because holding on to it wasn't good for me and it wasn't good for the baby. And so that's more of an extreme example, both the issue that occurred, but also that I had a life inside of me that said, hey, I don't want her carrying this with her. Like, I want her to have a good relationship with her grandpa and I want everything to be okay. But more importantly, like, I don't want this toxicity, unforgiveness, grudge, right? The poison pill to affect her. And so I forgave and we moved on.
Yes, yes. So forgiveness is really like it leads you to a lot of things like better relationships, things like that. So there's this one saying I saw. I'm like, it says, I'm allergic to negativity. I'm like, yeah, just because we want positive energy, and we if we tend to be receptive, I mean, if we want negative, or if we ever entertain negative things, so more negative energy will be coming, right? Mhm.
Right, for sure. I mean, I don't believe in I don't believe in what's it called, the like magical positivity all the time. But I think that we have to be careful about how long we sit with certain negativity. There's sitting with negativity and processing it and working through it for the betterment of ourselves or for society. Like, sometimes I just sit with the fact that children are orphans. Sometimes I just sit with the fact that, climate change is happening and we need to do more about it. And I'm not gonna like just throw that away. But I'm certainly going to go, well, what can I do to help that population? What can I do to help children that don't have their parents? What can I do to help end climate change? So yeah. But I agree with you in terms of like, we need to, more than we're not. Let's choose positivity.
Positivity. Yes. So can you share with us your favorite quote? If it wasn't the your father's quote, like your
Oh,
favorite quote, either personal, motivational, inspirational, or otherwise.
um, there's so many. The first one that comes to mind is just something I've always said to myself, and I don't know where I heard it or if there's some attribution that needs to go with it, but it's anything worth having is worth working for. Which means if you want a good life, then it's worth working for it. If you want to have a good relationship, then it's worth working for it. If you want to have beautiful friendships, then it's worth working for. And so I think we need to pick our values and to choose ways to work towards that. I think that's why I believe in being a life coach, is that I can help people make choices that can help them live their best lives. I can help them sort out their values and help them start to work towards those values. So it's something I've always said to myself is, if, when I get, a little procrastinating, a little lazy, it's like
Mhm.
anything worth having is worth working for. So if this is worth you having it, like having a daughter that's well attached and kind to others, then I need to work at it, right? I need to demonstrate kindness to others and I need to be there for her.
Yes, because there's no magic pill. We can't get anything we wanted by just saying, I want this, and then it's there, right? There's no genie in the bottle.
No, even
You have to
manifestation
work
talks
for
about the fact that you've got to like tap or think
it.
about it or take time to meditate on it. Like, even manifestation takes work. So even if you magically, and I'm not, there's different schools of manifestation, right? There's the people who think, you think positively and you get it. But even everyone I've studied that does that, there's work involved with that.
Yes.
And then there's the other school of manifestation that believes once you manifest it, like, you have to like take the actions necessary to manifest it into your life. So
Yes, thank you so much. So, before we end this, can you please share what is the number one takeaway that you really want the audience to absorb about this topic?
I mean, I probably titled it a little too simplistic, but I just really want people to know that even in the midst of COVID and even in the midst of this pandemic that we have, that maintaining or finding human connection is so important. It's important for your health. It's important for your mental health, so your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. It's important to continue to be a community and to continue to have a society that functions together, and that it's so possible. It's so within the realm. Even if you are someone who's had to choose to isolate because of the circumstances of this, there are ways to connect with people through social media, through FaceTime, through Skype, through um, oh, I just did a virtual cooking class, and I have a really good friend who brought all of her girlfriends together twice during the pandemic to make cocktails. Uh,
Mhm.
So there are so many ways to connect to people virtually and to keep doing those things that you love to do. I've had virtual happy hour with people. I've had virtual classes with people. And then the
Yeah.
other one is if you can get out, and if you are immunized and or not, and you're choosing to get out into the public, still, don't we don't need to be divisive. Be okay with meeting people that don't agree with everything that you agree with, and don't isolate yourself that way either. I think that's when mental health really gets to us, and I read way too many like bad stories on the people stories where so and so murdered his girlfriend and shoved her in a trunk for 6 days. Like that stuff, yes, is definitely a mental health issue, but I feel like a lot of that stuff comes out of isolation and just letting the brain like run wild on
Yeah, we don't need to be depressed because we're in a pandemic, right? There's a lot of
you.
things to stay connected.
Right. And at the very least, like if you're someone who like, I don't even know how to start, call me. Like DM me. I'm really good at being a friend, you know? So
That's my next question. So,
oh,
how would people connect with you?
okay, well you can definitely find me on Facebook. Personally, I have an open Facebook channel, Arianna Palumbo. Feel free to like and friend, jump on there. I use it mostly for business purposes, so I don't show my daughter on social media. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what her daughter looks like, sorry. Um, and then on Facebook still, I have a Facebook group called the Career Woman's Guide to Achieving Life Balance. And so, if you're a career woman, or if you consider yourself a career woman, I know some women are like, I'm a homemaker. I'm like, oh, that's a career. So feel free
Yes.
to join us. Or I homeschool people. Well, if you're a teacher at home or you're a teacher in school, isn't that a career? So join us, and then you can find me on Pinterest and Instagram at Purposefully Connected Life. Um, and there's always updates. I love to like provide motivation and tips and ask questions, and I love learning about other people. So Tuesday, my topic Tuesday is like my favorite day because I get like all of these people telling me like if they're an introvert or not, or what their favorite car is, or like all of these things. I like to ask a lot of fun questions, and I usually try to post something funny on Fridays, at least on Facebook. And then Pinterest has a lot of the blog stuff that I've done previously about self-care, dating, or dealing with rejection and handling rejection. I have more to write on that because I've learned a whole bunch recently.
Wow.
That's another topic for another day, Naomi, because there's a lot of interesting
Yes.
science around rejection,
Yeah.
in terms of the human connection. In fact, I probably should have talked about that somewhere here because I actually have it in my notes. But
We'll
um,
talk about that on another episode.
oh, so it's so fascinating and it's
Yes.
so debilitating, but there are ways to overcome. So
So I'll be placing in the description uh, where they can find you, and
wonderful.
yeah, so they can connect with you to develop that human connection.
Yes, yes. Facebook groups are a great place to do that. So I encourage
Yeah,
people,
that's
even if
where
you don't want to
we
join
met
my
each
group.
other.
Yeah, it's I met Naomi. So she has a
Yeah.
Facebook group too. So there's ways to connect to people even
Yes.
virtually. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ariana, for your time and for sharing your expertise with us. We will be talking to you more in the future, I guess. Yeah, we'll talk about it. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching us live. And again, this will be posted in YouTube, and we'll be talking to you again soon. So, to end, I would like to share with you a saying that I found. So, never underestimate the empowering effect of human connection. All you need is that one person who understands you completely, believes in you, and makes you feel loved for what you are to enable you unfold the miraculous you. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this is Level Up with Naomi. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye. God bless you, everyone.